Ms. Saye, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
How is the global downturn affecting Africa?
The slowdown is severely impacting Africa. Compared to a growth of some 5.5% in 2008, we now project that growth will only reach some 3.25% in 2009 in Africa. That is, of course, the consequence of falling commodity prices for a significant proportion of Africa's exports and falling world demand generally across the globe. For African oil exporters in particular, the price of oil has dropped precipitously in the last several months, some 60% decline in oil prices. And so a very severe impact already, likely to become even worse as the year progresses.
How should Africa and its partners respond to the crisis?
As countries seek to weather the storm, there are countries in which there's been enough fiscal consolidation and where debt burdens are low. And in those countries, it may be possible to put in place a fiscal stimulus to try to mitigate the reduced demand coming from the private sector. In other countries where debt levels are still significant, it would be unwise to seek to expand spending because that can lead to increased inflation, pressures on exchange rates, and of course undermining the basis for robust growth. In the context of their Gleneagles commitment to double and aid levels to Africa, it's particularly important that donors live up to the commitments they've made. We know that it's a very difficult time, and of course the donor countries themselves having to also attempt fiscal stimulus of their own and the demands on their own resources. But aid budgets are such a small proportion of the total budgets of donor countries that we think is absolutely possible to sustain those levels of assistance while responding to their own domestic needs.
And finally, how can Africa get back on track to achieve higher growth and raise living standards once again?
For that, of course, support from donors is important. The right policies being implemented by African countries are also important. We think that once the crisis abates, of course, it will be very, very important to be able to attract foreign investments back to Africa, that those gains on the reform front are protected. So we think that it will be important to help them get through this storm so that when it's over, they have a much better basis for continuing to underpin growth and to make sure that that growth is translated into better lives for their citizens.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saye.
Thank you. Thank you.